The Last Resort. Dr. Sarah Chen stared through the quantum glass viewport of Research Station Omega, watching the swirling purple storms of Nexus 9 below. The gas giant's eternal tempests matched her turbulent thoughts as she reviewed the latest batch of test results. Another failure. The death toll from the crystalline plague had just passed 1 billion across 17 species. The isolation of the station, hovering in high orbit around this uninhabitable world, usually brought her peace. Today, it only emphasized humanity's position in the galaxy, forever on the outside looking in. 10 years since first contact, and the Galactic Concordat still treated Earth like a primitive backwater, unworthy of full membership. The soft chime of her neural interface interrupted her brooding. Dr. Chen, priority transmission from Earth Command, the AI announced. Maximum encryption. Director Zhang requests immediate response. Sarah's heart rate spiked. Earth Command never contacted individual researchers directly, much less with maximum encryption. Accept transmission, she said, moving to her private office. Director Zhang's hologram materialized, his usually stoic face showing signs of strain. Dr. Chen, what I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest levels. 3 hours ago, we received an official request for help from the Concordat High Council. Sarah almost laughed. Almost. The same High Council that rejected our membership application 3 times. That High Council. The very same. Zhang's image flickered slightly. The crystalline plague has reached their core worlds. Their best estimates give them less than 6 months before total societal collapse. They're desperate enough to ask the primitive humans for help. Their quarantine protocols failed. Completely. The plague adapted faster than their predictive models anticipated. Sound familiar? Sarah nodded grimly. She'd warned them about this 2 years ago, when she'd first analyzed the plague structure. The Concordat's xenobiologists had dismissed her findings, claiming human medical science was too crude to be relevant. Now millions were dead because of their arrogance. They're sending a delegation to your station, Zhang continued. The Concordat's leading xenobiologist, First Speaker Veller, will arrive within 48 hours. You'll have full authority to pursue any line of research you deem necessary. Any line. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Even the ones they previously declared forbidden. Especially those. The Concordat has suspended all research restrictions for the duration of this crisis. You'll have access to their full database of plague data, including classified files they've been withholding. Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. Her previous research had suggested the plague's crystalline structure might be vulnerable to certain banned terraforming technologies Earth had developed. The Concordat had shut down that line of inquiry immediately, claiming it violated their sacred protocols. There's more, Zhang added, his voice dropping lower. Our intelligence suggests the plague isn't behaving like a natural pathogen. The infection patterns, the adaptation rate, something's off. The Concordat knows more than they're admitting. You think it's artificial. The implications were staggering. Find out. Earth Command has authorized Protocol Omega if you uncover evidence of deliberate biological warfare. You know what that means. Sarah did. Protocol Omega gave her virtually unlimited resources and authority, answerable only to Earth Command. It was a measure created after the Mars pandemic, never yet implemented off-world. One last thing, Zhang said. First Speaker Veller belongs to the Auroran species. They were among the strongest opponents of Earth's membership bid. Wonderful, Sarah muttered. The Aurorans were notorious for their belief in their own biological and cultural superiority. Working with one would be challenging. Remember, Doctor, this isn't just about saving lives anymore. This is humanity's chance to prove our worth to the galaxy. Don't waste it. John's hologram flickered out. Sarah turned back to the viewport, watching the storms below with new eyes. The Concordat was finally coming to Earth for help, tails between their legs, metaphorically speaking, since most member species lack tails. But something about this situation felt wrong. Why would the mighty Concordat turn to Earth so quickly? Yes, they were desperate, but their pride should have demanded they try every other option first. Unless they knew something about the plague that made human expertise specifically valuable. The neural interface chimed again. Dr. Chen, preliminary scans detect a Concordat vessel entering the system. Estimated arrival at Research Station Omega, 46 hours, 17 minutes. Sarah squared her shoulders. If the Concordat wanted humanity's help, they'd get it, along with some long overdue answers. Begin full decontamination protocols, she ordered, and upload everything we have on banned terraforming techniques to my private server. It's time to show the galaxy what human science can really do. As she began preparations for her visitors, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she was stepping into something much bigger than a mere medical crisis. The plague, the secrets, the sudden policy reversals, it all pointed to something the Concordat was desperately trying to hide. Well, if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was uncovering uncomfortable truths. The galaxy was about to learn why you should never underestimate the species you rejected. Sometimes, the outcasts are exactly who you need to save you from yourself. Breaking protocol. First speaker Veller was exactly what Sarah expected from an Auroran, tall, crystalline-skinned, and radiating disdain. The beam's translucent form caught the station's lights, creating rainbow refractions that danced across the laboratory walls. Under different circumstances, Sarah might have found it beautiful. Your methods are crude, Dr. Chen, Veller announced, examining the experimental setup, using modified terraforming technology on a biological plague. This violates countless Concordat protocols, the same protocols that failed to stop the plague. Sarah continued calibrating the quantum resonator, refusing to be intimidated. 1 billion dead, Speaker Veller. How many more before we try something new? The Auroran's crystalline form flickered, their species equivalent of a frown. You misunderstand. I am not here to stop you. I am here to observe. That made Sarah pause. The Concordat never just observed. They controlled, regulated, dictated. This deviation from their usual behavior confirmed her suspicions that something larger was at play. Then observe this. Sarah activated the resonator. In the containment field, a sample of plague-infected tissue began to respond. The crystalline structures that characterized the disease started vibrating at specific frequencies. Impossible. Veller moved closer, all pretense of superiority forgotten. The crystalline formation should be impervious to such crude vibrations, impervious to standard medical treatments. Yes, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. But Earth developed these frequencies for terraforming Venus. We needed something that could break down crystalline structures at the molecular level without damaging organic matter. The infected tissue was changing before their eyes. The plague's characteristic crystals were dissolving, leaving healthy cells behind. Sarah checked the readings. Cellular integrity at 94%. Far from perfect, but it's working. Veller's voice held an emotion Sarah couldn't quite identify. How did you know this, Wold? The speaker stopped abruptly, but Sarah caught the slip. How did I know? Or how did you know we might have this capability? Sarah turned to face the Auroran directly. You didn't come here out of desperation, Speaker. You came here because someone in the Concordat already suspected Earth's terraforming technology might work. The laboratory fell silent except for the hum of equipment. Through the viewport, Nexus 9's storms cast shifting shadows across Veller's crystalline form. You are more perceptive than our profile suggested, Dr. Chen. Veller's tone had changed, becoming more measured. The Concordat has not been entirely forthcoming about certain matters, such as why a plague would have crystalline structures that perfectly mimic Auroran biology. Sarah pressed her advantage, or why it seems specifically engineered to resist all standard Concordat medical treatments. Veller moved to the viewport, seeming to study the gas giant below. There are factions within the Concordat, Doctor. Ancient powers that believe they alone should guide our civilization's development. When Earth was discovered, these factions saw something that terrified them. What? Potential. Veller turned back to Sarah. Humanity advanced from primitive rocket technology to terraforming capabilities in less than 2 centuries. It took most species millennia to achieve similar progress. The old powers feared what would happen if humanity joined the Concordat as equals. Sarah's mind raced, connecting dots she hadn't seen before. The plague wasn't meant to kill, was it? It was meant to control, to keep developing species dependent on Concordat medicine. Until it mutated beyond its design parameters, Veller confirmed. Now it threatens even its creators. That is why I am here, Dr. Chen. Not just to observe your treatment, but to help expose the truth. Sarah's neural interface chimed urgently. Doctor, multiple Concordat vessels have just entered the system. Energy signatures match military configurations. How many? Sarah demanded. 17 ships, Doctor. They appear to be converging on the station. Veller's crystalline form pulsed with alarm. They know. The old powers must have realized what we discovered. They'll destroy this station before letting the truth escape. Sarah was already moving. Interface. Initiate Protocol Omega. Authorization Chen 7 Delta 9. Protocol Omega confirmed. Emergency transmitters activated. All research data is being broadcast on quantum channels to Earth Command and registered independent worlds. You don't understand. Veller's voice held real fear now. They'll glass this entire system to contain the information. Sarah smiled grimly. No, speaker, you don't understand. Humanity learned long ago to never keep all our eggs in one basket. This station isn't just a research facility. It's a hub and a network that spans half the galaxy. The truth is already out there, spreading faster than any plague. The station's warning systems began blaring as the first Concordat ships came into weapons range. But Sarah stood calmly at her console, continuing to broadcast her findings. The old powers wanted to keep humanity isolated, she said, more to herself than to Veller. They're about to learn why that was their biggest mistake. As energy readings from the approaching warships spiked, Sarah's neural interface chimed one final time. Doctor, incoming transmission from Earth Command. Message reads, the outcasts send their regards. Operation Stormbreak is go. The real revolution was about to begin. The hidden truth. Operation Stormbreak unfolded with a precision that made Veller's crystalline form pulse with astonishment. As the Concordat warships moved to firing positions, dozens of previously invisible human vessels phased into existence around Research Station Omega. They had been there all along, hidden by stealth technology the Concordat had dismissed as theoretically impossible. Your people planned for this, Veller observed, watching tactical displays track the emerging ships. For how long? Since the day the Concordat rejected our first membership application, Sarah replied, fingers dancing across her console. We knew something wasn't right about the rejection. Earth's intelligence services started digging, and we found patterns. Too many patterns. The station shuddered as it activated its own hidden defenses. Quantum shields flickered to life, far more advanced than anything the Concordat thought humanity possessed. But Sarah wasn't focused on the military response. She had a different mission. Interface. Initiate Operation Truth Cascade, she commanded. Authorization Chen Final Override. Across Concordat space, hidden quantum transmitters activated. Years of carefully gathered evidence began flooding every communication channel. Proof of the old powers' manipulation, documentation of artificially suppressed technologies, records of the plague's true origins. But most damaging of all were the medical records. The plague wasn't their first attempt, was it? Sarah asked Veller, though she already knew the answer. How many other natural disasters did they engineer to keep rising civilizations dependent on Concordat aid? Veller's crystalline surface rippled with shame. 17 documented cases over the past millennium. My own people, the Aurorans, we were their first success story. They used an engineered virus to devastate our medical technology, then offered their cure in exchange for our compliance. We became their most loyal enforcers, never realizing we were just another conquered species. Outside, the battle had begun. But it wasn't proceeding as the Concordat warships expected. The human vessels weren't just defending. They were implementing a carefully choreographed plan, herding the attackers into specific positions. "You're not trying to destroy them," Viller realized. "What are you doing?" Sarah's answer was interrupted by her neural interface. "Doctor, quantum signatures detected. The collective is responding." On the tactical display, new ships appeared. Vessels representing species the Concordat had rejected or subjugated over the centuries. The Tarzi with their organic technology, the machine-integrated Extal, the energy-based Quorum, all of them emerging from hiding, moving with clear purpose and coordination. "We didn't just investigate the Concordat's crimes," Sarah explained. "We reached out to other victims, shared our findings, our technology, our plans. Humanity had something none of them expected. Experience with revolution against overwhelming odds. We taught them how to hide, how to prepare, how to coordinate." The Concordat fleet found itself surrounded, caught in a web of its own making. But Sarah wasn't done. She activated the station's quantum resonator at full power, targeting it at the plague samples in the lab. The crystalline structures didn't just break down, they transformed. "The final proof," she announced, broadcasting the results across all channels. "The plague's crystalline structure isn't random. It's based on Auroran biology, because it was engineered from Auroran genetic material. Your own people were used against the galaxy, Speaker Veller. The old powers took your unique crystalline biology and weaponized it." Veller moved closer to the display, watching the transformed samples. "The resonator frequency. It matches our natural biological rhythm. That's why human terraforming technology could affect it. You didn't just find a cure. You proved the plague could only have been created by someone with intimate knowledge of Auroran physiology. Knowledge that only the Concordat's highest levels possessed," Sarah confirmed. "The evidence is irrefutable. The old powers didn't just create the plague. They betrayed every principle the Concordat claimed to stand for." Her neural interface chimed again. "Doctor, we're receiving transmissions from multiple Concordat worlds. Civil unrest reported in 17 major systems. The Auroran High Council has just announced an emergency session. The revolution wasn't being fought with weapons. It was being won with truth. Across the galaxy, species that had been manipulated and controlled for centuries were finally seeing the full scope of their oppression. The carefully maintained facade of Concordat superiority was cracking. Your people." Veller's voice held a mix of admiration and fear. "You did more than prepare for war. You built an alliance of outcasts, gathered evidence, developed technologies in secret, and waited for the perfect moment to expose everything." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The old powers thought limiting human membership would keep us isolated and weak. Instead, it gave us the freedom to work in the shadows, to help others do the same. They never understood humanity's greatest strength, which is, we know what it's like to be underestimated. We know how to turn rejection into opportunity. And most importantly, Sarah watched as more ships arrived, representatives of dozens of species the Concordat had dismissed or oppressed, all coordinating perfectly in the defense of Station Omega. We know how to unite the underdogs into something stronger than any empire. The true war was just beginning. Not a war of ships and weapons, but a war of information and revolution. Humanity had spent years preparing for this moment, building a network of allies among the rejected and oppressed. Now, that network was activating, and the galaxy would never be the same. The old powers wanted to keep control by keeping us divided, Sarah said, watching the Concordat fleet's formations break down as more of their crews learned the truth. They never imagined we'd turn division itself into our greatest weapon. Revolution of the Outcasts. The next 72 hours transformed the galaxy more profoundly than the previous 1,000 years of Concordat rule. Sarah watched from Station Omega's command center as the revolution unfolded across every major system. The Collective, as the Alliance of Outcasts called themselves, moved with devastating precision. The Auroran High Council has officially denounced the old powers, Vela reported, monitoring quantum transmissions. My people are demanding the arrest of senior Concordat officials, the evidence of their complicity in the plague's creation. It sparked riots in every major Auroran city. But it wasn't just the Aurorans. Species after species was rising up, armed with years of carefully gathered intelligence from human operatives. The Tarzi unleashed their organic ships from hidden birthing worlds. The Anxtal activated dormant machine networks that had been quietly installed in Concordat systems. The energy-based quorum revealed they had been observing and recording Concordat activities from within the very stars themselves. Doctor, Sarah's neural interface interrupted. Earth Command reports Operation Phoenix is ready for implementation. They await your signal. Sarah exchanged glances with Velar. Are you certain about this, Speaker? Once we begin, there's no going back. The Auroran's crystalline form pulsed with determination. My people were used to oppress others for centuries. It's time we helped heal instead. Sarah nodded and activated the quantum resonator. This time, she wasn't targeting plague samples. The device linked with hundreds of others hidden throughout Concordat space, all calibrated to the exact frequency of Auroran biology. As they activated, the true purpose of humanity's cure became clear. Across the galaxy, Auroran crystals began to resonate, not to destroy, but to transform. The same technology that broke down the plague was now enhancing Auroran natural abilities, unleashing potential that the old powers had deliberately suppressed for generations. By the first light, Velar whispered, experiencing the change firsthand. The Auroran's crystalline form now pulsed with internal energy that had been locked away since their species' subjugation. We never knew. They crippled us at a biological level. And now you're free, Sarah confirmed, along with every other species they manipulated. The plague wasn't just a weapon. It was a test run for our liberation technology. The tactical displays told the story. As each Auroran realized their true potential, more Concordat military forces stood down. The old powers had relied heavily on Auroran enforcers, never imagining their perfect weapons might turn against them. But humanity's plan went deeper still. Sarah's neural interface chimed again. Doctor, quantum network restructuring is complete. The collective information exchange is now online. This was humanity's true masterpiece. Not weapons or ships, but a new way of sharing knowledge. The quantum network connected all member species of the collective, allowing instant exchange of scientific discoveries, cultural insights, and technological innovations. What the Concordat had suppressed for centuries was now flowing freely. You didn't just build an alliance, Velar realized, watching the flow of data. You created an entirely new form of civilization. One based on free exchange rather than controlled access. Sarah smiled. Humanity learned long ago that true strength comes from diversity and open collaboration. The old powers thought our different biologies, our different approaches to science and technology, made some species superior to others. We proved that those differences, when freely shared, make all of us stronger. The revolution was succeeding beyond anyone's expectations. Without their Auroran enforcers, without their carefully maintained monopoly on advanced technology, the old powers found themselves powerless to stop the wave of change. One by one, their strongholds fell, not to military might, but to the unstoppable force of liberated knowledge and cooperation. We're receiving a priority transmission, Sarah's interface announced. The Concordat Grand Assembly has surrendered. They're requesting terms. No terms, Velar said firmly. No more hierarchies, no more controlled evolution of species. It's time for something new. Sarah nodded and opened a channel to the entire quantum network, to all members of the collective. The age of the Concordat is over. But this isn't a victory of conquest. It's a victory of unity. Every world, every species, every individual now has access to the combined knowledge and capabilities of our entire alliance. We rise together, or we don't rise at all. As if to emphasize her words, new data flowed through the network. The Tarzi shared their secrets of organic technology. The Engstal opened their machine consciousness protocols. The Quorum taught others how to perceive and manipulate energy at fundamental levels. And humanity. Humanity shared everything they had developed in secret during their years of rejection. The old powers feared this moment. Sarah continued. They feared what would happen when we all realized that our differences weren't weaknesses to be controlled, but strengths to be celebrated. They feared the power of outcasts united by a common cause. She looked out at the swirling storms of Nexus 9, thinking how fitting it was that this revolution had started at a research station, not a military base, not a seat of government, but a place of science and discovery. The galaxy changes today, she concluded, not because we defeated the old powers, but because we proved them wrong. They believed domination was the only path to unity. We proved that cooperation among equals creates something far more powerful than any empire. The revolution wasn't ending. It was evolving into something unprecedented in galactic history, a civilization where every species could develop freely, where knowledge flowed without restriction, where diversity was strength and cooperation was the highest law. The outcasts had become architects of a new age, and the galaxy would never be the same. A new order. 1 year after the fall of the Concordat, Research Station Omega had transformed. No longer an isolated outpost, it had become the central hub of the collective scientific council. The station's laboratories, once dedicated solely to plague research, now hosted scientists from hundreds of species, all working together in an unprecedented exchange of knowledge and ideas. Sarah stood in her old office, now expanded to accommodate visiting researchers, and marveled at how much had changed. Through the quantum blast viewport, ships of every design imaginable moved through the space around Nexus 9. Organic Tarzi vessels flowed like living creatures alongside crystalline Auroran ships and energy-formed Quorum crafts. Dr. Chen, her neural interface announced, the first graduating class of the Collective Science Academy is ready for the commencement address. Sarah smiled. The academy had been her idea, a place where young scientists from every species could learn together, combining their unique perspectives and biological advantages to push the boundaries of what was possible. She headed to the station's Grand Assembly Hall, recently constructed using a combination of human, Tarzi, and Engstal engineering. The hall was packed with graduates. Crystalline Aurorans sat beside machine-integrated Engstal, while energy-formed Quorum flickered in specially designed containment fields. Humans mingled freely among them all, no longer the outcasts but equal partners in this grand experiment. A year ago, Sarah began, many of us stood divided by artificial barriers of tradition and prejudice. The old powers claimed these divisions were natural and necessary. They said our differences made cooperation impossible. She paused, looking out at the diverse gathering. They were wrong in ways they couldn't even imagine. Displays activated around the hall, showing achievements from the past year. The Tarzi's organic technology, combined with human terraforming techniques and Auroran crystal matrices, had restored ecosystems on dozens of worlds ravaged by Concordat exploitation. Engstal machine consciousness merged with Quorum energy manipulation had revolutionized faster than light travel. Every species had contributed, each unique biology and perspective adding something vital to their shared progress. In 1 year, Sarah continued, working together freely, we've achieved more than the Concordat managed in centuries of controlled development. We've cured diseases they claimed were incurable. We've solved problems they declared impossible. We've proven that diversity isn't a weakness to be controlled. It's the source of our greatest strengths. The latest data flowed through the quantum network, accessible to all. The plague that had once threatened galactic civilization was now fully understood and controlled. The crystalline structures that made it so deadly have been repurposed into medical technology that could heal almost any injury or illness. But our greatest achievement isn't technological, Sarah said, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall. It's the proof that different species, different biologies, different ways of thinking can come together not just to survive, but to thrive. The old powers feared this possibility so much they engineered plagues to prevent it. They never understood that fear of difference is the only real plague. Vaylor, now head of the Auroran Science Council, stepped forward to join her. The former enforcer species had transformed itself, using its crystalline biology to bridge gaps between organic and energy-based life forms. Dr. Chen speaks truth. The Auroran's resonant voice filled the hall. My people were used to keep others down because we believed the lies about biological superiority. Now we understand that true superiority comes from lifting each other up. The graduation ceremony that followed wasn't just a celebration of academic achievement. It was a testament to what was possible when artificial barriers fell away. Each graduate had completed projects that combined multiple species technologies and perspectives. Their achievements would have been impossible under the old system of separation and control. As the ceremony concluded, Sarah's neural interface chimed with a priority message. Doctor, the deep space arrays have detected signals. A new species, previously unknown, approaching collective space. Sarah exchanged glances with Vaylor. Once, such news would have prompted fear and defensive preparations. Now, it brought excitement and curiosity. The quantum network hummed as information began flowing between member species, each contributing their unique insights to prepare for first contact. Send the welcome message, Sarah commanded. Let them know they're approaching space where all species are welcome, where knowledge flows freely, and where diversity is our greatest strength. She looked out at the assembled graduates, seeing in their faces, organic, crystalline, mechanical, and energy-based, the future they had built from the ashes of oppression. The outcasts had not just overthrown an empire, they had replaced it with something far more powerful. A civilization built on the principle that every difference was a gift, every unique perspective a treasure to be shared. The old powers thought they could control evolution itself, Sarah reflected. Instead, they taught us all a valuable lesson. True evolution doesn't come from control. It comes from cooperation. They tried to keep us divided and weak. Instead, they forced us to learn how to unite and become strong. As the graduates dispersed to their new assignments throughout collective space, Sarah returned to her office. The storms of Nexus 9 still swirled below, eternal and unchanging. But the galaxy above was transforming day by day, proving that the greatest revolutions don't end with victory. They end with the beginning of something new and wonderful. The age of outcasts was over. The age of unity,